And now we have come to the point in our Beatles experience of album on the table where there is no more mono. Meh. We're only stereo now.
We're just in stereo now.
I mean, did they ever do anything in quad? Or attempt it in quad?
No. They weren't around long enough for that. Thank God. That was a waste of time.
How long did that last? Not long.
Not long. Anyway, we've reached Yellow Submarine, the soundtrack to the wonderful animated film, The Beatles, Yellow Submarine.
Question, why is it not the Beatles in their voices acting out the animated characters?
As far as I can tell, it was because they just didn't have the time, because the film was made, I believe, alongside the recording of an album. So it was like they couldn't juggle the two projects at the same time.
I wish it would have been them.
I do too. Absolutely, because the Beatles are the Beatles. But the people that did the voices for the Beatles did a very good job of mimicking the Beatles' voices. Maybe sometimes a little bit more extreme.
Yeah.
But I think for an animated film, that's actually perfect because it's a cartoon. It's supposed to be a little bit over the top and outlandish. And believe me, this is an outlandishly over the top film at times. But I think the music is great. I think the story is beautiful. And then you also, on this particular album, get, in addition, the orchestral score written and orchestrated by George Martin.
So, this album, I guess I would say it's not much of an album.
It's more of a compilation.
Because it's kind of like an EP.
Yeah.
And then the score.
Yeah,
and Yellow Submarine, the song, and All You Need Is Love have previously popped up on albums.
So it's definitely a soundtrack.
This is a soundtrack.
But it is an official Beatles release. Because there are songs on this album that appear in the film that don't appear on other albums, such as Only a Northern Song, All Together Now, Hey Bulldog, and It's All Too Much, which is All Too Much is one of my favorite Beatles songs. I love that song is done mostly over one chord. I think it's the melody is great. George sings that one. I think that the recorded guitar sounds and just tones of everything match really well together. The energy of Hey Bulldog is really great. I love kind of the upright, boxy piano sound that comes into it. Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's like two EPs put together to make an album. But I think the most amazing part about this particular album is the score, which, of course, composed by George Martin.
As you said before,
yeah.
He's more of the fifth Beatle because he was contributing musically.
Yeah, and also what a lot of people don't know, I mean, most Beatles fans, people who really know Beatles material inside and out, know that if there was ever string parts in a Beatles song or different instruments, like in My Life, there's like a harpsichord solo that I think he plays. So he orchestrated that solo. The flute solo in
Hide Your Love Away.
Yeah, I think he orchestrated that. But anytime actual orchestral instruments are involved in Beatles music, it's his composition. Oftentimes working with their input, but it's his knowledge and his expertise going in. And I think that a lot of the themes that you get in this film, like I love the Pepperland theme and that particular orchestral arrangement. I think it's just the way it opens in the film is perfect, setting the stage of what Pepperland is supposed to symbolize. It's supposed to symbolize a happy utopia where people coexist in a way that, we're pretty much never going to see. So it sets the stage incredibly well. The March of the Meanies thing is very indicative of what the Blue Meanies are. They're villains, yes, but they're not, to me, they're just more of a powerful menace. They cause a lot of trouble. They do destruction, and they want something a certain way, but they're not, like, as characters, they're more of a menace that just has large numbers. They're not really like, say, the Joker. They're not like Lex Luthor. They're not super villains. They're villains. Obviously, they would want people that are, they want to bring their family, so they're not going to make the villains as scary. But it's got that kind of like, it got like a very like kind of
superhero kind of,
like a little bit of like a marching quality to it, I would say. But like the steps are really tiny and like close together. But the other thing I can say about this album that it kind of always has rubbed me a bit of the wrong way is that there are songs in the film that are not on this album. In subsequent years, when I think it was 1999 was when they remastered the film and re-released it for home video, they went back and did a full soundtrack that included all the Beatles songs that were in there, the full score. It was actually a true, complete soundtrack. So this is a bit incomplete. However, the songs that are Beatles songs included are unique to this release, that they haven't been on others in the past. So this is a very interesting sort of compilation.
What do you mean? Just different versions?
No, as in these songs on here, with the exception of 2, haven't been on.
Well, it's only 4 other ones.
Yeah, but I'm just saying those songs have been on previous releases. The other 4 have not. The reissue one, they went back and there are songs that are in the film that are not on this. So Nowhere Man, which was on Revolver or Rubber Soul.
Rubber Soul.
It was on Rubber Soul. That's in the film, but it's not on this soundtrack. It's on the reissue soundtrack. That was the complete collection of music that was in the film. So when it comes to the whole reissue game, things can get a little confusing. But I love the film. I love the music in the film. I think this is a great soundtrack companion piece to it. Really dividing everything equally amongst the Beatles music and the score, which I think is great. Not many people.
It's a definite departure.
Yeah, definite departure in terms of a release. I can't recommend the film enough. If you haven't seen it, go get a copy of it. I don't think you'll be disappointed. I love it. It's one of my favorite films.